Welcome to StudyIQ. Very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mamani. The date today is 23rd September 2017. Dear friends, beginning is easy, continuing is hard. This is a Japanese proverb in front of you, and how we can apply this thing in our studies. Like, say for example, it is easy to decide that I am going to prepare for competitive exam, isn't it? So beginning is easy, but to continue it, to stick with your commitments, to stick with your study regime, it is difficult. And the reason why I believe becomes a bit difficult is because we are surrounded by many distractions, isn't it? I'll give you a small example, and I'm sure many of you might have experienced this thing as well. Like, whilst you, say for example, watching this video, now if you have your mobile phone, smartphone, and if the notifications are on, you have WhatsApp and Facebook, and there are so many social medias that are many a times helpful, but on the other time, when you are particularly studying, then notifications can become a big source of distraction. So if you find a notification in the middle of this video and then you decide, okay, let me check that thing, and then you will find that you have lost that rhythm. What I'm trying to say is that whatever you do, try to give your 100%, particularly when you're preparing for competitive exam, because it will depend on not only on how much you are studying or how much you are giving, it will also depend on your competitor, how much he or she is giving. So the best thing that you can do is stick with your hard work, believe in yourself, and make sure that you are not distracted by all this sort of distractions. With this, dear friends, allow me to introduce all of you to our Navratri offer. Now you know that Dandiya season is going on, and we have pen drive and tablet courses for your SSC, bank, UPSC and other government exams. Of course, we have different courses for different exams, and on this Navratri season, StudyIQ is providing you 30% off on your pen drive and tablet courses. But the thing is, this offer is valid only till 29th of September. So if you don't have one, I would recommend all of you to get your pen drive and tablet courses as soon as possible. If you have any further question or queries regarding it, you can feel free to give us a call on this number, or you can check out our studyiq.com website as well. Now, dear friends, today we have we have 4 articles to talk about, but out of that, 3 articles are published in today's Hindu newspaper, about which I'm sure the regular listeners do have a profound understanding, because we have talked about these things in detail. The first one is about GST. I'm sure you know that there are technical glitches going on in GST, and GST was launched in 1st of July 2017. It's basically a goods and service tax combined, right? So earlier we used to have multiple taxes, but now we have just one tax, and that is known as goods and service tax. Main aim is to ensure that the rates of different products and services are same all across the country, right? There are some items that are out of GST purview. We have talked about that as well, but this article is talking about, it is focusing more on the issues that are happening because of these glitches that are taking place on GST network. Now, you know that every month, if you are running a business, then every month you have to file your GST return. How you file it? You file it on GST network. Now, what is GST network? GST network basically is a sort of online backbone. It is an online platform on which you file your return. So you use internet and the software and things that is available on this GST network. The main problem is that after the launch of this GST goods and service tax, it is found that this GST network is having some technical glitches. Now, what government is doing, we have talked about it, but again, as your revision, I will tell you that this will help you in your revision as well. And for the new listeners, it would be, as I told you, it will be a new start, isn't it? So government decided to sort it out as soon as possible, naturally, and it has formed a committee. It has formed a ministerial group, and remember, it is, when I say government, I'm talking about GST Council. Anything to do with GST, goods and service tax, the main decision making body is Goods and Service Tax Council, right? It is headed by Finance Minister, and you have representatives of all different states in it, and then you have this body called GST Council. So it has formed a sort of ministerial group, and it has promised that by October 80% of the problems that we find in GST network will be sorted out. Apart from that, the other thing is that it has provided it has extended the deadline so that you don't have to worry about the failure of GST network. Now the shameful thing, or the sad thing, is that we know that India is famous for its IT prowess, isn't it? We are famous in America and other countries that IT for information and technology, and this thing is happening in our country, like GST network is failing. Then this is a bit of matter of shame for us. The other thing is that many times it is observed that I know that there are some practical problems, and this happens with life and business and in other aspects as well, that until and unless you don't start, then you won't find what are the issues that you are going to face. But the thing is, there are some preventive measures as well that you can take. Like before launching this GST network, if government would have conducted like thorough drilling, or it would have conducted sort of pilot testing, then there were chances like we could have avoided this sort of situation. Now the thing is, why it is impacting or why it is bad, because we know that economy is slowing down. We have talked about it. The growth rate is consistently going down. That means the economy is not doing good, and we know the reasons as well. Like there is the sluggish environment, or there is a fall in demand in global level as well. The global economies are not doing that good. It is sluggish. The other thing is private investment. One of the main reasons why India is not picking up is because of we are still not able to attract that much amount of private investment. So these are the things that are slowing down economy, and this sort of glitches in GST is again going to delay the things. It is again going to basically, the wheel of economy that at present is in motion its pace will, or its speed will slow down because of this sort of technical glitches. Now the main thing is, and why it will impact, because exporters, we have talked about it, I will repeat myself again, that exporters, if you are exporting something, then of course you have to claim back your GST, isn't it, from the government. But if there are problems with this GST network, then there would be delay in filing, and then the refund as well will come back late. Now as a businessman, you will plan ahead, isn't it? You will target. Diwali is not far, it is a festival season, and of course in festival season demand for different products, goods and services is naturally high. So you won't be able to, because now lots of your money is parked with the government, the refund is not coming back, and that means that working capital is less in your hand. Working capital is a sort of blood for any business. So naturally you have to borrow some money, and you have to pay some interest. If you are borrowing for short term, then the interest rates are higher. So end of the day, it is going to impact your profit, isn't it? Then Christmas is not far as well. Now remember, we have huge population of Christians living in India, and apart from that, Christians are found all over the world as well, and we are dealing with many things. We are exporting in different countries like Australia, UK, USA, etc. So if this is the problem, if working capital is an issue, then it is going to be difficult for the businessmen to carry on smooth running of their business, and this will again impact the economy. So this is the thing, and of course government should try its level best to sort it out as soon as possible. And domestic market as well, it's not only about exporters. With domestic market, if we see, then after the rollout of GST, it was believed that things will start coming back to normal. The demand will pick up, but this sort of things has not been observed yet. So these are the problems, and this is what this article is talking about. Moving on to another item, and this is regarding Sri Lanka. Now we know that Sri Lanka was going through a sort of civil war for the longest period of time. I'm sure you have heard about the issues that were going between Sinhalese. Sinhalese is a sort of a majority in Sri Lanka, and then you have Tamil people, Tamilians. Sri Lanka is not far from India, and you can see from here, this is our country India, and this is Tamil Nadu. And during British time, or before that as well, many Tamilians, they migrated to Sri Lanka, and under British rule as well, they were taken over there for tea plantation and coffee and rubber and other sort of things, basically to work as a laborer in agriculture and plantation business. So you have a considerable population of Tamil people living in Sri Lanka, and for the longest time there was a sort of issue between when Sri Lanka became independent. It decided to go ahead with, means the regime was saying that it is not going to allow Tamil language, and there was all sort of identity crisis, identity issue in Sri Lanka, and because of that they were going through a long sort of civil war. We have heard about Tamilian tigers, and it has cost India very dearly, because we lost Rajiv Gandhi. I'm sure you might have watched that movie called Madras Cafe, so many of you would be knowing the story behind this thing as well. Right, so anyway, now Sri Lanka is going to adopt a new constitution, and there is a steering committee of Constitutional Assembly. It was chaired by the current Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, and it has came out with some good things. The points that we find in this report, they are quite encouraging. But the thing is, earlier as well, this sort of committees have been formed, and sort of similar points have been presented by earlier committees as well. Now the basic things, three main things that Sri Lanka should ensure, and this constitutional committee, or the steering committee, is also talking about, is about protect its unity and stability. There was a time when there was a demand for separate land. Imagine, Sri Lanka is a very tiny country. Then as well, there was a demand from Tamil people, because as I told you, because of their identity issue, they were demanding a separate state. So it is very important for the new constitution to ensure that there is no sort of this sort of activities, and unity and stability of Sri Lanka is must, because it has to achieve many things in terms of economy, in terms of social progress, and other areas as well. Now, distribute powers equitably across ethnic and geographical division. Sri Lanka also has different states, just like India, right? We have federal government, we have a union government, and we have state government. So in the same way, it do have this thing, this sort of federal structure, but power distribution is not that much, particularly when we talk about the Tamilian area, which is here. I'm not sure whether it is called Tamilian. I'm sorry if I'm hurting anyone. Tamil area, right? So this area that you can see here, the majority people living here are Tamils. So they are not having that much power under current scenario at present. The good thing is that their chief minister, and this is their capital of this area, Jaffna, and the chief minister is he used to be a judge. He was a judge, and now he is chief minister, and he comes from a Tamil community. So this is a big change in Sri Lanka, and it is moving towards democracy. It is moving towards democracy. So things are good, and it is of course important for India as well that Sri Lanka is becoming more democratic, more prosperous. It is united. There are no issues going on, because it impacts India directly, because of sentiments of people living in Tamil Nadu gets affected as well. And on the other side, we know that China is trying to penetrate in Indian Ocean, and Hambantota as well. We have talked about it. It is a port in the southern part of Sri Lanka. So China wants to penetrate here, and if it manages, if there are political issues going in Sri Lanka, then it will provide a breeding ground for China to come over here and take over this part of the world, or colonize this part of the world, and then it is going to be a direct national security threat for our country. Now the other thing is there are some other points. Let's quickly glance over it, and this is about they are going to make some changes, and they have introduced subsidiarity. Basically what this means is we have Panchayati Raj system. We have 3 tiers of government, isn't it? We have union government, we have state government, and then you go down, we have district level government as well, isn't it? Or village level government. So in this way they are going to delegate powers to the bottom level. So any decisions that can be taken at town level or village level, or say for example district level, then that will be taken by the authorities of district, town, or village, rather than president or prime minister deciding about these things. So this is a good sign. It will definitely encourage more democracy in Sri Lanka. Then they are going for a mixed method of representation. 60% of parliamentary members will be elected under first past the post system, and the rest of them will be on proportional representation. And the other good thing is that they have also decided, or this committee has came out with a secondary parliament chamber of representing the provinces. What it means, it basically means Rajya Sabha, right? We know Rajya Sabha, the name itself indicates Rajya means states, isn't it? So all different states are represented in Rajya Sabha, and Lok Sabha you have directly people are represented in Lok Sabha, and in Rajya Sabha you have states. So in this way, second parliamentary chamber is going to represent different states, and as I told you, it will be beneficial for delegation of power and democracy as well. So the states like Jaffna and other areas can present their views, and their demands can be placed here. It can be debated, discussed, etc. So this is going to be good for Sri Lanka. Moving on to this article, and this one is about climate change, the way through which we are going. We know that climate change is a issue that is talked in United Nations General Assembly as well. Two main things at present, two biggest challenges I would say through which humanity is going through, or in fact when we talk about climate change, it is about the life on earth itself. It is not only human beings, but it is all forms of life that are directly threatened because of climate change. And we know that who are the culprits behind climate change? It is us human beings. It is our greed that has took us to this point, that we are in fact destructing the things that are basically nurturing or making our life more good, or it is adding value to our life. We are destroying those things. The other thing is terrorism, but this article is about climate change. But in United Nations General Assembly, which is going on at present, so you know that these two items will be discussed, or you will find these two items in speech of all the leaders in United Nations. Right, so basically from 1970 to 2006, 30%, imagine 30%, there is a drop of 30% of species on earth. This is a huge amount, isn't it? This is a huge amount. We have lost this many species, 30% between this small area. This is somewhere around what, 36 years. In this we have lost 30%. Now the thing is, the ecological footprint of humanity, it is us, as I told you, human beings. We are using more than earth can handle. This is our greed. We are using resources, we are extracting resources, and in fact then we are extracting raw material, then we are making it semi raw material, or we are transforming it, and then we are using it, and then this usage is causing all sort of climate change things, like we are emitting carbon dioxide and other things. Now there was a research conducted by Johan Rockström in 2009, and this article is talking about basically the points that were provided by this research conducted by Rockström. Now it says that there are planetary boundaries, right? There are what it means that loss of biodiversity, land use changes to nitrogen and phosphorus cycles, ocean acidification, atmospheric aerosols loading, ozone depletion, chemical production, freshwater use, and climate change. These are the things that fall under this planetary boundaries. And in the course of 12,000 years, before 12,000 years, the whole planet, that age before 12,000 years was known as Ice Age, because most of the world was covered with snow and ice. But then there was a sudden change in the climate, and this snow started melting. And let me tell you that of course this is not discussed here in this article, but this is something I'm adding from my side to develop your understanding. And this is once this ice started melting, what happened? We found that grasslands started coming up, right? We found many areas now, before they were covered with ice. Now you find grass over there, because there was this sort of grasslands. Then came many different herbivorous animals that were their main food was this grass. Now this herbivorous animal have to be controlled as well, and this is all worked. This is the whole play of nature, right? So then you have some carnivorous animals as well who are making sure that the population of these herbivorous animals is in control. And so this way the whole ecosystem developed, and the things that we are using at present is all coming from this change that took place. The main point, the inception point of this thing is it is found in Ice Age, or the end of Ice Age. And since then, later on, when Industrial Revolution came, when we started producing different industries and things like that, when they came in, and after the invention of steam engine and other things, we started producing huge amount of carbon dioxide. Apart from that, as the technology got, as the science and technology expanded, we started clearing forest and other things, and because of these things we started polluting the soil, air, water, and this pollution of water, soil, air was direct. Because of these things, the species, the other flora and fauna got affected, and since then we are seeing there is a decline, a consistent decline in the species of flora and fauna. Many of these conditions respond in non-linear manner. This sort of destructions are non-linear. That means once we destroy them, then they will never recover, right? You cannot recover them back, and any sort of this sort of destruction will have a severe impact, because remember, everything is working in a cycle. Lions are ensuring that you have limited amount of deers and wildebeest in the jungle, and then wildebeest will ensure that grasslands are in control, etc. So in this way everything is working with each other. So any sort of, if you remove anything out of this food chain, then we find that the whole system gets distracted. You find a sort of a ripple effect. And here this article is also talking about tipping points. Now you might have heard about this terminology, tipping point. Tipping point is a place, say for example, if you are selling something, say for example if you are a businessman and if you are doing all sort of marketing and selling strategies, you are producing good items, etc., but then as well you are not able to reach that many people, or not that many people are buying your product or services. But then comes a tipping point, and suddenly you find that either your goods will pick up, your goods and service, and you will become a star in the business, you will become top of the town. And so this is basically tipping point. So when we talk about ecological thresholds, then this tipping points, once we cross this tipping points, then we are never going to come down, in the sense that once we destroy them, then that's it. We are never going to able to bring it back to the normal condition. And this has been observed in the breakdown of glaciers. Once they are separated from the main body, then they are never going to originate. This took place in Greenland recently. In 2017 it was in news as well that a big chunk of ice was separated from Antarctica. And we know that the way the rainforest, the tropical evergreen forest of Amazon, they are also being reduced in size. And we have recently seen, when we talk about our country, the failure of Indian monsoon, which is very bad for the whole economy and for huge amount of population of our country. Since these boundaries interact with one another and cause changes across scales, crossing a threshold in one domain can speed up or undermine processes in other subsystems. And this is a very good example. See here, for instance, greenhouse gases, GHG emissions increases ocean acidification, right? This is important for your prelims, for your understanding. And climate change is a topic on which you will find questions every single year in your mains, in your prelims, and many a times you could be asked this sort of questions in your interview as well. So it is very important for you to understand this thing. Now see, this is a cycle. Greenhouse gases results in increase in ocean acidification. Then land use change often increases greenhouse gases. So the way we destroy forest and build all these commercial buildings or say for a residential area, then this is what land use change is all about. And this will increase greenhouse gases, because earlier the trees used to suck away all the carbon dioxide, but now you don't have those trees, so you are not able to mitigate this, or you are not able to suck back, or not allowing the nature to suck this extra carbon dioxide. So this GHG emission is going to increase nitrogen and phosphorus, and this will deplete species biodiversity and freshwater resources, and again it will increase climate change. So this is the whole cycle of this thing. The other thing is that at present the greenhouse gas emission has crossed 410 ppm. ppm means particle, ppm stands for particle micrographs. Beg your pardon, I'm completely lost here. It should come back in a minute, but it should be somewhere below 350. The level should be below 350, but at present we have crossed 410, which is not good at all. We have already crossed the safe limit, and because of this thing, if we observe from pre-industrial area, that is before somewhere around 1750 or before that, if we observe, then we find that the average, right, the average temperature has gone up by 1 degree. It may look very simple that okay, it is just 1 degree, it doesn't really matter, but no, it matters a lot, because 1 degree average temperature is huge in many places. The places like Russia, now they are also having sorts of heat waves. Can you imagine? Russia is generally a very cold country. In European countries as well, you are finding that heat waves are taking place, and many people are dying because of these heat waves. So this indicates that climate change is taking place, and temperature increase of 1 degree is huge. And we know that we have all these agreements like Paris climate change, and this Paris climate change is all about ensuring that we do not cross, by the end of this century, we do not cross a certain amount of basically 2 degree is the target, that we don't cross. The average temperature of the earth should not cross 2 degree. So for that, everyone has to ensure that we are moving more towards green energy, and we have to ensure that the climate or the environment ecosystem is protected. Right, yes, I got it. ppm basically means parts per million, right? Parts per million, that is ppm. So please keep this in mind. Now the last one when I say I'm talking about the editorial pages, we have some other news as well. This one is talking about the things that are going on in Tamil Nadu. We have talked about it and you know it very well, but there are some points about which we should familiarize ourselves, and it is going to be a good revision for the regular listeners. And I would recommend all of you to listen this lectures on regular basis, because you will find consistently the things that we discuss here, we are adding value to the topics that we discuss here, isn't it? And this is the thing, this will enhance your understanding, and understanding is the key, right? So High Court has at present become a battleground, because you have three different things going on in the High Court. Three political sparrings are going on. You have one side, you have rebel group, you know that AIADMK, the Shasikala people, they are working as a rebel at present. Then you have the ruling party run by this Palaniswamy, and then you have opposition as well, the DMK party, right? And the sad thing is that this sort of things, we have talked about this earlier as well, and Supreme Court has clearly stated that anything to do with the legislature, anything to do regarding the confidence motion or majority, this should be decided in the legislative chamber. This should be decided in the House and not in the courts. But then as well, this matter is at present in the court. How it all started on 22nd August. This dissident, this rebellious legislature, the Shasikala group basically approached the governor, and they said that they are not supporting the chief minister. And on 18th September, because you know that speaker is basically a person who is appointed by the ruling party, so the speaker decided that these people are basically, they are rebel, but on technical ground, the speaker decided that they want to quit the membership of the party, so let's disqualify them. And the main reason for doing this was once they are disqualified, then the total number falls down, and then you can play with the number games can go on, and in this way the ruling party can ensure that it retains power. Then DMK, the opposition party, approached the governor, and they said that, see, this is the thing that is going on in the assembly. The ruling party is not having majority, so how about we conduct a sort of floor test. Now the governor did not react, and the opposition was waiting, and it lost its patience, and then it went to the Madras High Court, right? And when Madras High Court came out with a very strange decision, rather than see, the courts can decide whether the decision taken by speaker is right or wrong regarding disqualification of this rebel people. The court has power, or it has a sort of power in terms of judicial review. It can review whether things are right or wrong, whether things are constitutional or unconstitutional. This is the power that courts have. But the court cannot say to the legislature that you cannot conduct or you should conduct floor test, or you go ahead with confidence motion. No, this is clearly stated in our constitution. This is called basically separation of powers, right? Every legislature, they have their own area in which they have upper hand. Judiciary has its own area in which it has its upper hand. Executive as well, they have their own area. So in this way things are crystal clear in our constitution. But many a times we find, and this sort of questions are asked as well, that judicial overreach, this is the term that is used here, judicial overreach, that many a times courts are interfering in the matters of legislature. So basically then came the disqualification when this when the issue went to the Madras High Court. Then the speaker decided to disqualify these people. So at present there are two issues: the question whether the governor ought to intervene, and whether the speaker was helping the ruling party by disqualifying rebels and thereby converting its minority into a majority. These are the two issues that are looked by the Madras High Court. Now the key political question that is arising from this thing is that first of all, the chief minister has to ensure, or he has to prove that he is having a majority in the house. And the governor, we know that governor did not took any step here, and this is one of the reason why things are a bit murky at present in Tamil Nadu. The chief minister is not keen to, he is not coming out and demonstrating, or he's not clearly stating his strength. He's not coming out. The speaker, again, speaker has, as I told you, disqualified this rebel group. The opposition as well is not demanding for a no confidence motion, and these rebel groups are also not doing any sort of meetings with the legislature party to sort out this issue. And these are the things that are going on. And when it comes to the governor role, see, I told you earlier that governor has discretionary power. That means it is on governor to decide. He has to use his own wisdom and common sense and knowledge to sort out these issues. And Supreme Court has clearly stated earlier that, see, if there is any sort of political things going on, when I say political, I mean to say this any sort of number games, or if within a party there are people who are fighting with each other, this sort of things are not something that governor will sort it out, right? It is something going on in the party, so it is the party people who has to deal with it. But yes, when it comes to the legislature, then governor can act, and this has been clearly stated by Supreme Court. But then as well, governor did not took any action regarding this people like disqualifying this rebel group. In 10th schedule, if we go there in the 10th schedule of our constitution, then we find that if you have 2/3, right, if you have 2/3 of say for example a party is having 100 people in it, right, and out of this 100 MLAs, if 67 MLAs are quitting the party, or if they are going against the chief minister, then governor can say that, okay, let's form a party, or this people can claim an upper hand, or they can say that we want to select someone from us. So this can be considered, but Supreme Court has not barred governor to take decision regarding this thing. So governor has discretionary power at present as well. So I don't know why he is not using it. There could be multiple reasons behind it, and as I told you, the court has limited power. Court cannot step in all the time, and it is not good for the democracy as well, that every time High Court or Supreme Court is interfering in matters of legislature. The other thing regarding disqualification is that disqualification or an sort of interim direction allowing them to vote during the floor test could have met the interest. If governor would have taken steps, he just has to do this thing. He has to ensure whether this thing is right or not. In fact, the court, Madras High Court, should have also looked into this issue rather than extending the date or banning floor test. So this has made it more murkier. And this article is also talking about that we should think about amending the powers that are given to speaker, because many a times, it is not the first time, many times we have observed that speaker is using his or her power in favor of generally speakers are supposed to be impartial, but many a times it is observed that they are conducting partiality, and this is not good for democracy, and it is definitely not good for our legislative assembly, or in a matter of fact, you can also say parliament as well. So this article suggests the solution, that how about if we give these powers in the hands of election commission. Any sort of this sort of issues we find regarding disqualification, regarding rebel, etc., should be left with election commission, and election commission should decide whether things are right or wrong. Moving on to news items. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited his constituency, that is Varanasi, and he laid foundation stone of 25 projects in Varanasi, and Prime Minister said that his government is not only launching schemes, or is not only launching projects, but his government is also ensuring that they are completed, and they are it's trying their level best to complete it on time as well. Then he has inaugurated newly constructed Deen Dayal Hastakala Shankul. Hastakala means handicraft. A couple of days ago we talked about handicraft, Vastra 2017. This was launched by Smriti Irani, and at that point of time she also said that handicraft is not only about wearing clothes. It is not just costumes, right? It is tradition that we are spreading to different part of the world, and you know that there are so many handicraft. I'll give you one example, like Pashmina shawls. This are produced in Kashmir, and they are in high demand in many different parts of the world. They are produced from the Pashmina wool, and they are in high demand, and the craftsmanship as well is top of the range. It is something that is coming on for longest period of time, and this sort of handicrafts are generally found in rural areas, so it is good for the rural economy as well. The more we promote it, the more business we would be able to get for rural economy. In this way, the whole economy may come up, and it will also achieve target of Make in India as well. Then he said that he's going to central government is going to open some museums which will boost tourism in Varanasi, and on this occasion Smriti Irani ji talked about Mudra Bank scheme. Now I'm sure you know about many things about Mudra, because we have provided you, I basically provided you some questions, and you all have answered it thoroughly. So that's very good that you know about the things that are going on. Then Mahamana Express has been launched or flagged off, and this will connect Varanasi with Gujarat, Surat and Vadodara. Now in United Nations, as I told you, things are going on. So in United Nations, Pakistan has very funny of Pakistan that it is saying that India is engaging in, India and Afghanistan are doing all sort of volatile security. They are conducting or making volatile security situations in the region, and many times I wonder, don't they feel shame to talk about these things? And because the whole world knows that Pakistan is the main, it is, in fact, India referred Pakistan as Terroristan. This is the new name given by India, and it fits right as well with Pakistan. See why Pakistan keeps on doing this thing? Because it wants this Kashmir issue to stay at global level, and that is the reason at every United Nation or at every different global events, it ensures that it brings up this thing of Kashmir. And of course, Kashmir is integral part of our country, and we will not accept any third party intervention in it. Another item is Nirbhaya scheme, and now it was a very horrific incident. I'm sure every one of you know about it. Nirbhaya rape case that took place in Delhi, and there was a scheme launched for the disbursal of compensation to sexual assault victims. But Supreme Court has observed that this compensation is not provided on time. It takes ages. There are so many procedures. The reason why it was launched, the main idea behind this Nirbhaya scheme was for early disbursal. That means if you find any sort of unfortunate incident, then the compensation is given by the state to the victim or her family on time. But still we are finding, so this indicates that we are not, when we talk about women empowerment, of course we have to ensure that this sort of horrific incidents do not take place with any person on this world, but just in case if anything like this happens, then we have to provide all the tender loving care and of course financial support as well to the victim and their family. Sushma Swaraj has raised issues of H1B visa and DACA policy. We have talked about DACA that many times. When your parents, say for example, if you are a small child and if your parents migrated to America and if they are staying there illegally, but now after time has gone and you have started going to the school, now you are adult, and then government comes out with a scheme and then it says that you have to go back to the country of your parents' origin. But now you know that as you have lived in America for the longest period of time throughout your life, so it would be very difficult for you to come back here because you don't know anyone over here, etc., etc. So this is a policy on which there are many Indians as well, nearly 8,000 Indians that will get impacted if this scheme is out. And H1B visa is pertaining to IT professionals, right? They go there to work on contract. So these are the two things that were discussed by Foreign Secretary or Foreign Secretary of US, basically Foreign Minister, right? And the counterpart of US is here Foreign Secretary of India, that is Sushma Swaraj. They also talked about Indo-Asia Pacific region. We know the things going on in Indo-Pacific. China is there. You have Korea issue. So this were the items that were discussed. Hasina floats 5-point peace plans. She has talked about this 5 points, and she has said that Myanmar should sort out the Rohingya issue. So go through these 5 points. It will keep you up to date with what's going on with Rohingya case. And lastly, I have some questions for you. Please help yourself with it. I have two sort of MCQ sort of questions, and I have two questions on which you have to provide a couple of points. The thing is, if we practice from now, right, then it will help you a lot with MCQs as well, and you will have a sort of mains answer writing practice as well. So let's go ahead with it and let's kick off this thing, and I will wait for your valuable answers. Do not forget to get your pen drive courses. With this I end this discussion. I'll see you all soon. Till then, enjoy your studies. Take care. Jai Hind.